So, good morning everyone. So, my report is all about global corporation. So, first is the definition and the key features. So, at first, a business that operates in a multiple countries. So, when we said a business that operates in the multiple countries, a global corporation conduct business activities in more than one country. This means that offices, branches, or subsidiaries in different nations, allowing to reach a wider market and cater to international customers. Companies like McDonald's, Apple, and Toyota are the examples of global corporations that have established a presence in various regions around the world. Next is invest in foreign assets such as factories and offices. To strengthen its global reach, a global corporation often invests in physical infrastructure in foreign countries. This includes sittings of factories for manufacturing, offices for administrative and operation, and distribution centers to facilitate the logistics. Such investment help the company reduce the production costs, assess raw materials, and create a supply chain that meet the demands of the diverse markets. Next is to strive for economies of scale by selling standardized product globally. A global corporation benefits from economies of scale by producing goods in a large quantities and selling them across the multiple countries. This means that they can lower production costs per unit while maintaining the consistent product of the quality and branding worldwide. For example, is the Coca-Cola offers the same soft drink formula, ensuring that the uniform brand experience while maximizing the cost efficiency. Next is the definition of Michael Porter's. Michael Porter's definition of the global corporation is strong headquarters in one country, direct investments in a foreign location, and limited local customization to reduce costs. So according to Michael Porter, a global corporation typically has a dominant headquarters in its home country. So where key strategic decision, leadership, and core business operations are centralized. So this ensures the unified corporation vision, consistent policies, and efficient coordination of global activities. For example, Apple headquarters is in the America or in the USA, overseas, its coordination of the global activities. So for this, the global strategy, research and development while managing its operation in different countries. Direct investment in foreign location. So a global corporation expands by making direct investment in the foreign countries, such as building factories, offices, and distribution network. These strategies allows the company to have a greater control over its operation, ensure the quality and standard, and reduce the cost associated the outsourcing. So, for example, the Toyota manufacturing plants in multiple countries, allowing it produce a vehicle closer to its customer and minimize the shipping cost. Limited local automation to reduce cost. So, to maximize efficiency, the profitability global corporation often sells standardized products with minimal modification to different markets. Instead of creating unique products for each country, they maintain a uniform product design and marketing strategy to benefit from economies of scale. So, for instance, McDonald's offers a consistent menu worldwide, while only minor regional adaptation, such as the Mac Spaghetti in the Philippines and the Maharaja Mac in India to cater the local preference while keeping the overall cost low. So the financial perspective operates globally without a dominant headquarters. So unlike traditional multinational corporations with a strong home base, such as global corporation distribute their operation across different countries without a single dominant headquarters. The decentralized structures allow them to be more agile, responsive to the market, and also changes the efficiency in tax planning. So, for example, companies like Shell and Unilever have multiple headquarters in the different countries to manage their global operation effectively. Governed by the law of the country, while incorporated. So, it must comply with the legal regulatory framework of the country where it officially registered. And also, this affects how it pays taxes, follows the labor laws, and adheres to financial report requirements. For instance, some corporations choose to incorporate in countries while favorable the tax policies, such as Ireland or Singapore, to reduce their tax burden while still operating worldwide. Lastly, is the more sensitive to local markets and risks like health crisis and political instability. So, since more global corporation operates in a multiple region, they are highly exposed to economic and political, social risks in different markets. Factors like pandemic, trade wars, currency fluctuation, and political unrest directly impact their operation. So, supply chains and profits. For example, during the COVID-19 pandemic, global companies faced disruptions in manufacturing and logistics, forcing them to adapt their strategies quickly to survive in uncertain conditions. Comparison between global corporation versus the international companies. When we say global corporation, it invests and adapts to multiple countries. A global corporation establishes a strong presence in a various countries by making direct investments such as setting up factories, offices, and supply chain. And and also to adapt the local markets while maintaining the unified global strategies. For example, is the McDonald's that operates 100 countries, adjusting their menu to cater the local taste. The international business is to expand overseas but follows home country regulation. So, in the international business, the primary operates from its home country but sells products or services in foreign markets. It does not invest heavily in local operation or adapt significantly to different cultures, instead, maintaining its original business model and regulatory framework. For instance, an American company exporting cars to Europe but manufacturing them exclusively in the US. It considered an international business rather than the global corporation. The global interest system and the world system theory. So the structure of the global economy. First is the core countries. When we say core countries, it is developed, industrialized nation like US, Japan, and Germany. So core countries are most economically developed and industrialized nation that dominate the global trade, finance, and innovation. They have advanced infrastructure, strong political institution, and highly skilled labor forces. These countries benefit from the technological advancement global markets, multinational corporation, and the major financial institution. For example, is the USA, Japan, and Germany that lead in industries such as technology, automotive, and finance, influencing the global economic trend. Semi-periphery countries. These countries are the emerging economies. Example is the China, India, and Brazil. So these countries act as a bridge between the core and periphery nations. They have growing economies and industrial bases, but still face economic and political challenges. These countries often manufacture goods for poor nations while also exploiting labor and resources from periphery countries. For instance, China, India, and Brazil have rapidly expanding industries and increasing global influence, but still struggle with income inequality and economic dependency on poor nations. Lastly is the periphery countries. Underdeveloped resource exporting nation. Many countries in African countries. So, periphery countries are the least economically developed, often relying on exporting raw materials and agricultural products to the core and semi-periphery nations. They generally have weak industrial bases, unstable economies, and limited political power in the global affairs. Many African nations, for example, supply of minerals, oil, and agricultural products to whether countries but struggle with poverty, political instability, and underdeveloped infrastructure. So this economic dependency makes them vulnerable to exploitation in the global market fluctuation. Economic resource flows, so periphery to poor countries, so raw materials and labor. So periphery countries where are less developed primarily supply raw materials and cheap labor to poor nations. So these resources include agricultural products, minerals, oils, and low-cost manufacturing labor. Since periphery nations often lack advanced technology and strong industries, they depend on exporting these raw materials to other nations for economic survival. For example, many African countries export raw materials like diamonds, oil, and coffee to developed nations, while Southeast Asia countries provide cheap labor for the global manufacturing industries. Core to periphery mission, technology investment and finished goods. So in return, poor countries provide periphery nation with advanced technology, foreign investment and manufactured products. Poor nation also invest in infrastructures, projects, automobiles and customer goods. Poor nation also invest their infrastructures, projects, multinational business, and develop programs in periphery countries, which are a poor country, often gaining control over the local resources and markets. Next is the economic trend. First is the cyclical rhythms, right? Secular trends, contradiction, and persist. So, in cyclical rhythms, short-term economic fluctuation. So, this refers to periodic ups and downs in economy caused by the factors like changes in consumer spending, investment, and government policies. Economic cycle include periods of growth or booms, a decline or recession, which can last for months or years. For example, is the stock market crashes, inflation spikes, and job market fluctuation are all parts of cyclical economic movements. Next is in the secular trends or the long economic growth or decline. So unlike short-term fluctuation, circular trends refers to long-term patterns in economy that develop over the decades. So these trends indicate continuous economic growth such as rise of technology and automation, or declines such as population, aging, and resource depletion. For example, China's rapid economic rise over the past 40 years is a secular trend, while Japan's economic stagnation due to the declining workforce is another. So, the contradiction, conflict between short and long-term profit. So, economic contradiction arise with the short-term businesses. Strategies negatively impact the long-term economic stability. For example, companies may surpass wages to increase short-term profits, slowing economic growth. And another example is the environmental exploitation. Cutting costs today by overusing natural resources may lead to the scarcity and higher costs in the future. Crisis instability that could end or transform the system. Economic crisis occurs with severe imbalances, disruptions, and system often leading to the major financial collapses or the structural changes. This can result from banking failures, political instability, natural disasters, or the global event like pandemics. The 20, the the main idea of the world system theory. First is focus on global relation, not individual countries. So, world system theory developed by the sociologist Immanuel Wallerstein emphasizes that the global economy should be analyzed as a whole rather than looking at countries in isolation. Instead of viewing nations in independent economic units, the theory examines how they interact within the larger system of economy or the economic changes. For example, is the wealth of the developed countries is often built in the exploitation of the resources and labor from less developed nations, making economic success global rather than the national phenomenon. Lastly, is the nations are interdependent within the core semi-periphery and periphery structures. So countries do not function independently. Instead, they are interconnected through economic, political, and social relationship within a hierarchical system. Four nations dominate global trade and industry. Semi-periphery nations act as intermediaries, and the periphery nations supply raw materials and cheap labor. This independence means the changes in one part of the system so can have ripple effects across the entire world. For instance, the recession in the US can reduce demand for the export for the semi-peripheral and peripheral countries, affecting the economies as well. And that's all.